I promised my son on his deathbed that I would see to it that him get justice. And today I am grateful that I really stand up to see the end of it.
I can't remember exactly what time of the day it was, but I know it was Independence Day, August 6, 2014. My Gleaner colleague, Courtney Locke, called me with some amount of urgency in his voice. He said to me, "You remember the youth from Parshat me live, who me tell us to get beat up in a jail Sunday? You know say him dead? Him live near to me, him named Mario." I recognized instantly that it was a big story, and I asked him, "You know him family?" He replied, "Well, I don't really know him mother and him father, but I know him auntie well." I told him, "Alright, I'm gonna jump on this one, see if you can get some contact information for me." When I contacted the Barnett Street Police Station, while they acknowledged that a prisoner had died at the Corner Regional Hospital, the impression was given to me that he had fallen from a bunk and was not actually beaten. I subsequently learned that social activist turned politician Dennis Meadows was in contact with Deane's family, so I reached out to him. He was able to put me on to the mother. After speaking to Deane's mother, Marcia Fraser, his father Nicholas Deane, and his sister Sadiqi Deane, I learned that the 31-year-old construction worker was not a troublemaker but an ambitious young man with big dreams. Armed with the information I got, I wrote a story for the Gleaner. It made the front page, and Jamaica became aware of what had transpired at the Barnett Street lockup. The news evoked widespread condemnation all across Jamaica, and the stories began coming swift and fast. My colleague Janet Silvera took on the breaking news side of the story while I continued to generate stories for the Gleaner. Arthur Hall, who was the associate editor at the Gleaner at the time, took an interest in the stories, and he encouraged us to keep on pushing and to keep digging. We were able to find Castell Mackenzie, the man who Deane's mother had asked to go down and bail him. According to him, he got all the relevant documentations, went down to the police station, and while the bail was being processed, Mario said something. A policewoman got angry and said she was not going to allow him to get bail and that the bailer should come back at 5 o'clock. Instead of going back at 5 o'clock, Mackenzie said he went back at 3 o'clock, and when he got there, Deane was not at the police station. He was told that he was beaten by prisoners and was in the hospital at Cornwall Regional Hospital. As the news began to spread that Deane had ended up in jail and subsequently lost his life because he was caught with a ganja spliff, members of the Rastafarian community began taking an interest in his case, and they participated in several of the demonstrations. The news also took on an international flavor with demonstrations in the United States. There was particularly one big one in Washington, D.C., which caught the international press. Of course, I continued to follow demonstrations and generate stories for the Gleaner. Interestingly, I also suffered some amount of backlash as prominent persons within the JCF began accusing me of being like an activist, saying that I was helping to organize demonstrations. Needless to say, I kept on doing what I was doing. I was at the airport when international renowned pathologist Dr. Michael Bodden of the O.J. Simpson case fame came to Jamaica to perform an independent autopsy on the body of Mario Deane. I was able to generate a story from his findings, which painted a very ugly picture of the brutality that Mario Deane suffered at Barnett Street. I was also at the funeral at the Mount Salem Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I watched Mario's mother's tears flow as she promised her son that she would get justice for him. I listened to the rich tributes that trace Mario Deane's life up until his death, with the story attracting significant local and international attention. My colleague Janet Silvera suggested that we should submit it for a PAG award. In addition to being just a big story, the story also influenced policy change as the government changed the law concerning the possession of ganja. Ganja was decriminalized, and the police was no longer allowed to arrest a person for possession of a ganja spliff. Janet Silvera did all the legwork to ensure that the story got submitted to the PAJ. And interestingly, we won. We walked away with the Hector Winter Theodore Sleary Award for the best news story in print for 2014. However, I never let go of the story. Year after year, I would always try to make myself present when Miss Fraser came out on Independence Day to protest in front of the Barnett Street Police Station seeking justice for her son. The conversation I had with Castell Mackenzie, who had gone to bail Mario Deane but was denied, kept ringing in my head year after year. Deep down, I knew that a monumental act of injustice was done to this young man, and it could have happened to anybody's child. Today, April 22nd, 2025, 10 years after that discussion with Castell Mackenzie, I went on the Gleaner's online page and I saw guilty. All 3 cops in the Mario Deane case found guilty. The first person that came to my mind was Miss Mercia Fraser, Mario's mother. She was indeed a woman of courage and self-belief. She promised her son justice and she never walked away in the 10 years it took to finally get justice for her son. The Gleaner online story, which was written by my colleague Christopher Thomas, read as follows. The 3 police personnel in the Mario Deane trial were today found guilty in the Westmoreland Circuit Court on all charges stemming from Deane's death in 2014. Presiding High Court Justice Courtney Day, who presided over the trial, ordered the 3 defendants to return to court for sentencing on July 1, 2025. After the verdict, Mario Deane's mother, Mercia Fraser, was overwhelmed. The fear that she might not have gotten justice had been lifted.
It's just overwhelming. After 10 years and I've been there and I have to clench my fist not to really even cry. So it's a sigh of relief. I feel much lighter, but at the same time, after all this, all the pressure that you go through and everything, it's just overwhelming. It's just definitely overwhelming. And you know what I do? I thank God most that He told me that I could keep it out until this time. And I don't know how I would feel if I didn't really stick to the race and do it. It wasn't easy. And I tell you, even since I come here, sometimes I feel like I want to leave because it's just like it going. But today, I feel relieved because, I used to say that I'm not even sure that I will get justice in Jamaica. But my God, it's not only Mario get justice today. I know many more people who has lost their son, right, in this kind of condition. Really feel a little bit of relief. And I really, truly thank God and all the support that I get. You guys, you are with me from the beginning, especially Glean and, with me from the beginning. And, yeah. It's really good for all the support. JFJ in the community, everybody show up. And there are times when I really feel weak. I really feel like I couldn't make it. But I promised my son on his deathbed that I would see to it that him get justice. And today I am grateful that I really stand up to see the end of it. Just give God thanks. I'm just too overwhelmed right now to even give you a purpose.
I am going to give you some bonus footage from a video I previously did about Mario Deane, and hopefully by listening to both you will get a feel of what went on from 2014 to 2025. Thousands of Jamaicans have served harsh punishment, including prison sentences, for using the so-called sacramental herb ganja. While reggae legend Bunny Wailer, who was sentenced to 18 months in prison in 1966 for smoking ganja, and his Wailer's colleague Peter Tosh, who was beaten close to death in 1978 in Half Tree after he also was caught smoking a ganja spliff, were both fortunate enough to live to tell the tales many other Jamaicans have paid with their lives. One such person was a young man by the name of Mario Deane, who after he was caught with a ganja spliff was taken to the Barnett Street Police Station in Montego Bay, where he was beaten to a pulp and died 3 days later at the Cornwall Regional Hospital. For Mario Deane, who was 31 years old at the time, he was on his way to work on the morning of August 3, 2014, when he was stopped by a police unit in his Rosemount, Montego Bay community. The police searched him and found a ganja spliff. He was taken to the Barnett Street Police Station where he was locked up. Shortly after he was arrested, a family friend was sent to the police station to bail him out, but bail was refused. It is unclear what happened after that, but before the day was out, his near lifeless body was transported to the Cornwall Regional Hospital in a coma. He died 3 days later on Jamaica's Independence Day. While the police claimed that Deane was beaten by 3 prisoners of unsound mind, INDECOM judged that the police had a case to answer as they found evidence to show that the police had tampered with evidence in the cell where the beating took place. Interestingly, the 3 mentally ill prisoners and 3 police officers were charged in connection with Deane's death. Deane's death attracted both local and international attention. In my capacity as a journalist, I tracked the story from the local demonstrations here in Jamaica to one major demonstration which took place in Washington, D.C. I ended up winning a PAJ award for that most unfortunate story. In this edition of Lest You Forget, I will revisit that story through a Gleaner story I wrote under the headline Deadly Beating, which was published on August 7, 2014. This will be supported by original photographs from the various demonstrations and his funeral service, which was a moving spectacle as Montego Bay wept with Mario Deane's family. The story read as follows. While Jamaicans celebrated the country's 52nd independence yesterday, Marcia Fraser, the mother of 31-year-old construction worker Mario Deane, was mourning his death. Mario Deane of Rosemount in Montego Bay was unconscious for 3 days, battling for his life at the Cornwall Regional Hospital after suffering from serious head injuries he received at the Barnett Street Police Station in Montego Bay just hours after he was arrested for a ganja spliff on Sunday morning. Fraser told the Gleaner yesterday that doctors at the Cornwall Regional Hospital said Deane had suffered multiple brain injuries. Up to the time of his death, he never regained consciousness. He had a terrible chop over his left eye, one on top of his head, marks on his left arm, bruise under his chin. Face was swollen, eyes swollen that you could not see his eyelash. His head has grown twice the size it was before he was beaten, said Fraser. When the police took him to the hospital, they told the doctors that he had fallen off a bunk bed while they told us that he was beaten by cellmates, said Fraser. According to her, shortly after 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, she got a call from her son that the police had arrested him for a ganja spliff and that he was at the Barnett Street Police Station. He also asked his mother to tell a friend to go down and bail him. Shortly after midday, Deane's friend, Castell Mackenzie, went to the Barnett Street Police Station with the required documents, inclusive of a bail form signed by a Justice of the Peace. When I went there, he was taken out of the cell and was being processed to be released, said Mackenzie. While we were talking, he said he did not like the police, and the woman police who was dealing with the document said she did not like what he said and handed me back the bail papers, saying she was going to keep him locked up for an extra 2 hours so I should come back at 5 p.m. Mackenzie said that instead of waiting until 5 p.m., he went back at 3 p.m. When he got there, he was told that Deane had been taken to the Cornwall Regional Hospital. Knowing he had left his friend in perfectly good health just under 2 hours earlier, Mackenzie said he was perplexed and began asking what had happened to him. They told me that he was beaten up by other prisoners, said Mackenzie. However, when I went to the hospital and I saw him, it was clear that his injuries did not come from punches. I don't buy that story at all. Nicholas Deane, the dead man's father, told the Gleaner on Tuesday that I don't want to stand by and watch my son die for a mere ganja spliff. I doubt that a spliff would attract more than a $100 fine in the court. Yesterday, his mother cried openly for her only son. She said that she would fight for justice for him. He was in the care of the government, she said, as she called on Jamaicans all over the world to help her in this case. I need help, internally and externally. I need help in finding a good lawyer to provide justice for my son. And if the help comes from as far as the diaspora, I would appreciate it. When Sergeant Peter Salke, the liaison officer for the Police Constabulary Communication Unit in St. James, was contacted for a comment, he said the matter was under investigation. We are aware of the incident, and there is an ongoing investigation by both the CID and INDECOM, Salke told the Gleaner. We can't provide any additional information at this time. In the 9 years since Mario Deane was killed, the matter has been dragging slowly through the courts. The 3 cellmates were deemed unfit to stand trial because of their mental state and were released into the custody of their families, while the case of the 3 police officers continued to see postponements after postponements. Amid the slow march of the case through the courts, one thing has remained constant. Every single Independence Day, Marcia Fraser can be found outside the police station at Barnett Street protesting. She is determined to get justice for her son. In looking back at this most unfortunate incident, it is most definitely one of those unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica. Unforgettable stories out of Western Jamaica from the scrapbooks of Adrian Frater. Before you go, please remember to subscribe.